Ni hao, Dr. Palomo. This is Elizabeth van den Acker. When I read the module for this particular linguistics project, I right away thought about one of my favorite books that lives in my bookcase. It is, the title is Woman to Love, Man to Quit. It's by the artist Li Wei Han. She's a Hong Kongese artist. And I'll connect this to my current topic in linguistics a bit later. But so the language that I chose to explore, to learn over the past few days is Mandarin Chinese. And I found a few interesting facts that I of course already knew that they use characters, but I found other things that were quite interesting, so I will share those. For example, they do use simplified characters in mainland China today. There are other places that use the traditional Chinese characters like Macau and Hong Kong. And that change came about soon after the Chinese Revolution. So many of the people were illiterate, and so the simplified characters were sort of extrapolated from traditional characters in order to make them easier for the large populations to sort of learn quickly. It was kind of a shortcut to them becoming literate citizens of China. So I found that super interesting. And of course, each character, it doesn't only just mean a word, but each character is a syllable. And then it's put together to sort of gather the meaning of the sentence in that way. So that's something else. I also wanted to, here we can show this really fast. I wanted to show a little bit about how the evolution of the characters occurred. And we talked about that in one of our earlier papers in linguistics. So that here, for example, the character for rain, you can easily understand that it's rain, it's a cloud with raindrops. And then as the character evolved, here we have it as the meaning sort of evolved. You can still see sort of a very sort of graphic shape on top with the raindrops. The raindrops then change to just strokes, they call it strokes. And then here again, here you can see how it started to, you can recognize what the simplified character became. Here I have it better. Where the simplified, this was the traditional character and the simplified character. These are actually quite similar. On the one below for fish, you can also see a little bit the shape of the fish sort of evolved to look to this. And then this is the traditional character here. It has many more strokes, especially at the bottom. And then the simplified version is just one stroke. So then you can see sort of the character evolution over time as, and I think we discussed that in class also, how let's say how the word, the character for fish actually looked like a fish, that picture graph. And then as it became more well known and more, as the conversations and the communications with that word became more complex, the character itself became more simplified to sort of stand alone, as opposed to being a picture graph representing the actual noun in this case. So those are interesting things in respect to the language evolution within the culture. There is also, and of course, the other thing that's super interesting about Mandarin Chinese is that it has 4 tones, and so the tone within which you say a word changes the meaning of the word. For example, if we look here, I have the word tongue, which sounds like a tongue, just exactly as I say it, and it means soup. But if I stretch the 2 vowels in the middle, and if I say tao, then it means sugar. So I'm sure I did not pronounce it perfectly right, but you get my meaning. So then there are 4 tones, 1 is neutral, and when you speak, and I think this is the most challenging part for a learner of Chinese, Mandarin Chinese is that to get that right. So those are some things that I wanted to say. So my few sentences in Mandarin would be ni hao, which means hello. If I were kind of, it's still a formal way of saying hello. If we are very close, I just say hi or hello, which is obviously English. And there you can see some of the, we would call digiteration of the language. And then if I'm speaking to a group of people, I would say nei nun hao, which is it's like a plural hello to a larger group of people. And if I introduce myself, I would say what's Elizabeth, and wu she nu damung, it means I am female. So there is what I picked up this week. The other thing I wanted to talk about really fast is that in connection to the article that we discussed this week, and this is the connection that I made to my book, so I'm going to read really, really fast. Basically, the artist here is saying that art is a complex thing to understand, because the only way to explain it is through art. And so to me, that was a connection that I made with the article, where one of the challenges of it is that in order to talk to a group of people about their culture, they need to use the language that they practice to talk about the culture that they are practicing that language in. And so it's almost like a circular argument, circular conversation. The other thing that I found super interesting was that, for example, between in China, of course, it's a very social, very group thinking society versus Western societies that tend to be more singular. You know, the I is very important, where in China, it's about we, it's about the community. And so, for example, an expression like "don't judge me" just doesn't exist in China. They do have the word for judgment, they do have the word for right and wrong, but if you were to tell someone in Mandarin Chinese the equivalent of "don't judge me," you would say something akin to "do not judge, do not look at my do not look at my head and feet." Just that. And so with this, I culminate my linguistics video. Thank you so much. I've thoroughly enjoyed your class, and 谢谢. That means thank you.